It's all starting to come together. We've won every single game while you've been away. And we've got an FA Cup qualifying round today. Presumably, we're going to lose both of these games just to bring me back down to earth. Because at the moment, this is going a little bit too well for the first season of Non-League to Legend. Hello and welcome to part 3 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we have an FA Cup third qualifying round game away against Southport, and then we're home against Chorley in the Conference North. Since you were last with me, as I mentioned before, back wins. Craig Westcar scoring lots of goals. We've got a settled team and a settled system. I know we scored like a 91st minute goal in the last game to keep our run going, but the run has kept going, and we are now up into the playoff places in 7th place on 20 points, only 4 points behind top of the table Darlington, which is massive. That's where we want to be pushing for. But first, it would be nice for the finances of the club, which are a little bit ropey, if we could get into the first round proper of the FA Cup. I think we have to win this one and one more to do that, which is probably a little bit beyond us. But we'll see what we can do. We have got another new signing as well, another loanee centre-back, Ryan Blumberg. Just to add, we were really, really low on centre-backs. We brought Laird in the last episode, and now we've got two decent centre-backs who can offer some competition to each other to partner Williams at the back, and I think it gives us that strength at the back that we need. So, this is our team that we've been settled with for a little while now. We've got Wheeler in goal, a back four of Owens, Williams, Laird and Wood, with Daniels, Disley, Platt and Marshall in midfield, and Hurst and Westcar up front. Freddie Yao pushing for a space, but I've been kind of going back and forth between him and Disley for that second central midfield role alongside Platt. Gary Jones is very much deputy for Platt at aged 40. He's just there for us to bring on late in games when we need another ball-winning midfielder, or if Platt's getting a little bit tired. But I'm not entirely sure who my first choice is out of Disley or Yao as my sort of more attacking, my support central midfield player. Disley is officially our captain and, according to star ratings, one of the top 3 players at the club. But Yao is almost as good as him and about 12 years younger than he is. So there's a very strong argument that Yao should be the guy who comes into that slot. Likewise, I'm not entirely sure who my first choice support striker is alongside Westcar. Westcar, first name on the team sheet, but Hurst had a little bit of an injury, so Nixon got a run, scored a few goals. Hurst made his way back in just as Nixon himself picked up an injury, so now Hurst is on a run of games while Nixon is recovering from injury. When they're both fit, I'm not certain who my starting support striker is, whether it's Hurst as a target man or Nixon as a deep lying forward. Personally, like the fact that I've got the option of both of them, or will have at some point. Like I say, they've been both fit at the same time for maybe half a game at this point, and we're, including cup games, I think 14 games into the season. So glad I signed them both pre-season when I thought I was maybe being a little bit crazy bringing in 2 young strikers. Well, it's a good job I brought in 2 young strikers if they're both a little bit injury prone. Nothing at all is happening in this game. Which is just as well. I was basically doing an intro, but we're in the 55th minute. We've only had 1 shot on target in the whole game. Although Hurst is through here. Can he finish? Of course he can't. I mean, that's not what he's in the team to do. I imagine he was desperate to just turn around and lay the ball into someone else running beyond him, but there just wasn't anybody nearby. That's more what Hurst wants. Cross came in and he can't get onto the end of it, but Marshall now with the chance to cross himself. Plays it back to Wood, who puts Marshall back in, who tucks it back for Daniels. I think Daniels and Westcar were basically on top of each other there. I assumed Westcar was going to be the man who finished it, but it has gone down as a Daniels goal, I think. Marshall did really, really well here, combining with Wood, who is still officially our best player, our 5-star man at right back. Lovely ball for Marshall, and yeah, our lads were queuing up to tuck that one away. Their right back pulled out of position, didn't get there first, and it could have been either Daniels or Westcar. And I tell you what, Daniels wants to count himself lucky that he didn't miss, because with Craig Westcar there as well, I don't really want my left winger getting in the way when our poacher is there ready to convert a chance that's laid for him on a plate like that one is. But we are going to take Westcar off at this point. It's only the FA Cup and we're winning, so let's rest him a little bit. I don't think you've met Andre Johnson yet. He was here when we arrived. He's not quite up to the standard of Hurst or Nixon, but we may as well use him because he's here. Disley, not had a very good game at all, so Yao can come on for him. And we might just have a look at the new centre-back as well. Blumberg can come on for Laird. Why not make 3 substitutions? Like I say, it's only the FA Cup. It would be nice to have a run. We're not bothered if we don't. And we need to have a look at this other centre-back to justify him being here. Right, Marshall is free down the right-hand side again. This time, was he fouled or was that just a tackle? I think that was just a tackle. And that was a weird highlight to show me. Gives you an insight into the kind of game that it's been today, when a run down the wing that's then a tackle and it goes out for a throw-on was deemed worthy of a key highlight slot. But Williams now at the back with the ball. Blumberg lumps it forward and it's coming straight back. It was a poor clearance / pass. I don't really know what he was trying to do. He had time to pick a pass, but I guess with the direct passing instruction undecided, the best thing for him to do was just kick it forward. I'm still not absolutely convinced that direct passing is the way to go, but I guess at the moment results speak for themselves, and it is Hurst plays Johnson in. Can Johnson show me what he can do? He can. I think that's his first goal of the season. We're 2-0 up on 77 minutes, and I mean, Hurst and Johnson combining exactly the way they were supposed to there. It's a ball lumped forward from Yao. It's not actually lumped, it's played in brilliantly. Let's give Yao some credit. Hurst, as our target man, picks it up on the halfway line, looks up to see where his partner is, and plays a lovely pass into the path of Johnson, runs on to it and finishes. That is exactly the kind of goal we're set up to be scoring. In fact, both goals we've scored are the kind we're set up to be scoring. A cross that's tucked in at the far post, and then a ball over the top to our quick poacher. They're the only 2 goals we're ever going to score. You're not going to see us do long-range screamers. I certainly haven't seen one yet this season, which, considering it's nearly November at this point... No, nearly October. I feel like I've lost a month. It's nearly October and we haven't had a long-range goal yet, I don't think. Certainly not a memorable one. But what is memorable is that we've just gone away and done an efficient result. We've only had 5 shots in the entire game and only had 37% of the possession, but have won 2-0. So we'll take that, that's for sure. And hopefully we keep this run of victories going in the next game, which is against Chorley in the league. Just the one change for the Chorley game, then Yao comes back into the midfield with Disley dropping back down to the bench. Yao has now scored the winner in 2 games ago off the bench and created a goal off the bench in the last game. I think that justifies giving him another little run of stats. He's really struggling for match fitness though. He's only missed like 2 or 3 games and it took him a long time to get match fit when he first signed. And now he's had a couple of games where he's still coming off the bench and he's nowhere near match fit again. So I'm a little bit worried about just his general fitness level, but I guess when we've got 4 really high-quality central midfield players at the club, it's not an absolute disaster if his fitness isn't exactly where it needs to be right now, because we've got Disley and Jones there to bring in as needed. Jones is showing early signs of not being very happy at the club. I did bring him in with the promise of regular football. And to be fair, I did mean it at the time, Gary. I promise. We were going to be playing a 3-man midfield and we hadn't signed Yao yet. You were coming in to be our holding midfield player behind Platt and Disley. It didn't really work out like that. The system didn't work. And then Yao appeared on my reports and I had to spend the last little smidgen of wage budget on him, which kind of means your 4th choice in a 2-man midfield, which isn't ideal for you. And I apologise, but you are 40, so, you know, don't worry about it. You don't really need to be playing week in, week out at your age. Perhaps, you know, have a little bit of a rest. Do a coaching badge or something. Perhaps you could be part of my coaching setup here. You're older than I am, for goodness sake. And I thought at the age of 35, I'm a little bit surprised that I'm still having players in my squad. Certainly players that I've signed who are older than me. I thought the days of me signing players older than I am had passed about 5 years ago of playing Football Manager. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I have signed a player older than me in the last couple of versions of the game at least. So I'm quite happy that I am officially young again. I'm not 35 really, by the way. I'm just pretending I'm actually 27. I just pretend to be 35 on the internet because I want to feel old. I want to appear old and wise. Did they buy that? Right, what's happening in this game? It's another really uneventful game. I mean, we are getting good performances out of a pretty poor selection of players at the moment, which is a positive. But on the negative side, some of these games are pretty dull. And I can't wait to be able to start playing the Kev system once we start to move up the leagues a little bit. And they've just had a player sent off. I don't really know what he was sent off for there either. Presumably some kind of elbow or shove or something, because he was the attacking player. Unless it was a second yellow card for a dive maybe. But either way, now they're down to 10 men. We should be pushing on and grabbing a winner at this point, which would make it, what would it be, 7 wins in a row if we can pull a win out of this one. This will be the game that we don't win, because it's the first time that we really should. And they're actually passing the ball around quite nicely. Shows it is possible at this level, just not really possible with our group of players. But Westcar's in behind here. Can he tuck it back for Hurst? He does! And there we go. We're 1-0 up. And none of this fancy passing for us. We're just going to get it up to our quick forward and have him cross it to our big forward, because that's what we can do. But Yao involved again with a lovely ball out to Marshall, and it's a cracking pass for Marshall. Early cross, would you call that, from Marshall to Westcar, who just used his pace, used his experience to square it for Hurst. And I didn't actually see how many goals that is for Hurst this season now, but I think he is establishing himself as our first choice partner for Westcar. Right, if Platt's got a gashed leg and wants to come off, when we've got Disley on the bench, it seems silly not to bring him off. Although, that being said, Jones is my replacement for him. Disley can't really do ball winning midfield, and neither Disley or Yao can. And this is the disadvantage of only having 4 outfield substitutes, because I can't have Disley and Jones both on the bench. So hopefully we're not going to give too much of the ball away in central midfield. Owens isn't having a very good game, but we don't have any kind of replacement for him on the bench either. So he's going to have to stay on, as is Bradley Wood. I tell you what, we've not got much in the way of substitutes today. Jennings can come on the left wing for Daniels, just for the sake of it, really. And then perhaps we'll bring Johnson. In fact, Johnson probably would have earned a substitute's appearance more than Jennings has, because obviously he grabbed a goal in that last game. But then who do I bring him on for? I don't want to play him with Westcar. I don't want to necessarily take Westcar off when we're only 1-0 up. If we grab a goal here, of course, Westcar can come off. And that was a beautiful piece of control from Craig Westcar. Can I point out, we're playing in the Conference North. Look, have a little look at how he brings this ball down. If you didn't see it first time round, it's a thing of absolute beauty. I'm not sure who there you go. It's a ball forward from Disley. And that was stunning from Westcar. Brilliant touch. Excellent finish. Craig Westcar is a hero. And we are establishing ourselves in these playoff positions now. And true to my word, shall we rest Westcar or shall we? See, he doesn't really need it. Let's have another look at Blumberg, because he's someone who needs the games more, is more likely to be needed later in the season. So let's keep getting little 10, 15-minute spells into him, so that when the time comes where he needs to be in the team because of injuries or suspensions to Williams or Laird, he's actually got a little bit of match experience. So I don't think he's ever played anywhere else. What just happened? That looked like he was trying to win that with his head. Bradley Wood, good work. Platt made 5 mistakes today. Very upsetting. But that is, how many wins in a row is that now? Let's have a look. Is it going to give us a report on that? It should do, because, we're winning lots. It isn't. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins in a row. We've got a 4th qualifying round game in the FA Cup against Darlington coming up, and we are up to 6th in the league now, still 4 points behind Darlington. So this cup game against Darlington is going to be a big test to see if we are realistic challengers for automatic promotion this season. As with the gaps between the last couple of episodes, we'll leave it 5 or 6 games before the next couple, unless we get a particularly exciting FA Cup first round tie, if we get that far, in which case I guess we'll make sure we play that. But at the moment, I don't want to get too ahead of myself and too excited, but right now it seems to be going quite well. If you've enjoyed today's video, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and thank you very much for watching.